Our keynote speaker this year is the President of Sun Life of Canada Philippines Incorporated, Mr. Alex Narciso.
Gamma President Ms. Susan Lee, Convention Chair Ms. Pauline Uchi, Field Managers of the Philippine Life Insurance Industry, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is an honor and pleasure to be with you all, leaders and movers of the country's life insurance industry. I am here today to talk about leadership in the hope that you will be able to pick up new insights to help you grow and become better leaders. If you search in Google, you will find hundreds of definitions of leadership. And yes, there are also a lot of standards and benchmarks out there on what makes a great leader. But if you ask me, the real test of a good leader is quite simple. A great leader is someone whom people want to follow. As a former CEO of Pepsi said, if you can get people to follow you to the ends of the earth, you are a good leader. I have often wondered in the past if I was that kind of leader. If I may be honest, I had my own self-doubt and insecurities back when I started my leadership journey. For one, I am an introvert by nature, which is not the typical profile you see of leaders. And that made me wonder whether I really had the right to lead anyone. There is this Harvard book I once read entitled, "Why Should Anyone Be Led by You?" written by Gareth Jones and Rob Goffey. The title of the book struck me because it made me ask myself, bakit nga ba? What earns me the right to be a leader? Why should anyone want to be led by me? Since that time, I believe I have progressed in my leadership journey. Thankfully, I have learned many lessons from others, as well as from my own experiences along the way, which have helped me become the leader that I am today. But still, I challenge myself frequently with this question: why should anyone want to be led by me? Doing this reminds me that my leadership position is not a right that I should take for granted. My leadership position is a privilege. And because of that, I am in a continuous journey to earn that privilege every single day. So I'm not here pretending to be an expert on leadership. Neither am I here to prescribe to you what you should do. After all, each of us is unique, and we all have different circumstances, experiences, and challenges. But perhaps I can challenge each one of you to simply ask yourself this same question: why should anyone want to be led by you? Having had over 30 years of work experience behind me, both as a leader and as someone who has been led, I thought of sharing with you 6 of the most important lessons I have learned about leadership, which have helped me greatly. These 6 lessons somehow help provide the answer to my question: why should anyone want to be led by me? My hope is that you pick up one or more of these lessons and apply them in your own personal leadership journey. And in doing so, find the answer to that question too. I will use the phrase "lead me" as an acronym for these 6 leadership lessons I am about to share. I chose an acronym to help you remember the lessons better. But aside from that, the acronym "lead me" is a reminder to all of you that leadership is not your right. To be a great leader, your advisors must wholeheartedly say to you, "Lead me." And the lessons I will share will hopefully make that happen. The first lesson begins with the letter L, which stands for Leadership Practices. For the first lesson, I would like to endorse to you 5 leadership practices developed by James Kouzes and Barry Posner, which are believed to be the practices of exemplary leaders. I learned about these when I attended a leadership workshop more than 2 decades ago, and something just clicked inside me. It was such an eye-opener for me, and I believe it marked the start of my real leadership journey. The first of the 5 leadership practices is called inspiring a shared vision. The first point I wish to make about inspiring a shared vision is that the word shared is there for a reason. Many advisors are used to just working on their individual goals. After all, they have individual targets and validation requirements to meet. And most of the recognitions they aim for, like the MDRT, are achieved individually. But a leader who inspires a shared vision must make advisors realize that they are not just working for themselves, but that they are part of a bigger team with a common goal. In order to do this, the leader must see to it that the team's vision is agreed on by everyone in the team. This is the only way to ensure that each advisor will work with the rest of the team and exert his best effort to achieve the team's common goals. The second point about inspiring a shared vision is that a leader must be able to see beyond the present. A leader has to be able to paint a picture of a bold and exciting future. The problem, though, with a bold and exciting vision is that people don't always believe it can be achieved. Most people need proof of success before they believe something is possible. We have all heard of the term, to see is to believe, right? Well, in my experience and observation of visions and goals, the sequence is more the reverse. The team has to believe the vision before they see it. A leader who inspires a shared vision makes the vision so compelling and so exciting that the members of the team begin to want it. They begin to work for it. Then finally, they accomplish and see it. For visions and goals, to believe is to see. My third point is that achieving bold and exciting goals takes time and practice. Before you go after a really bold and audacious goal, like being number 1 or doubling your team's production, you can perhaps start practicing first with a vision that is a bit simpler. I know of many high-performing units and branches that started this way. You can start with simpler goals, like having 100% participation or 100% validating. Then, as you begin to achieve these goals together as a team, you can start aiming higher, like being the team with the most number of fast-track qualifiers or being a Gamma awardee. Then eventually, your team can aim for the stars, like having the most number of MDRTs or being among the top 3 in your company. By setting simpler goals and working your way towards bigger goals, you build confidence among your team members. And this allows your team to achieve a good record of early successes, which will prepare them to achieve that bold and exciting vision. Now, why do leaders set a vision anyway? Leaders inspire a shared vision because they want their teams to accomplish something remarkably bigger and better. But achieving something remarkably bigger and better also requires doing things differently. As they say, you cannot do the same things and expect different results. So if you want to accomplish something bigger and better, you cannot do the same things or do things with the same amount of effort. And this is where the second leadership practice comes in. It is called challenging the process. There is this book entitled, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. I think the title of the book alone serves as a good reminder that while the way we do things may have gotten us far and may even have given us success, they may not always be enough to get us any further. This is why leaders must always challenge the process. Challenging the process takes humility, courage, and creativity. First, you need humility to accept that there is room for change. Second, you need courage to challenge the norm and shake things up. Third, you need creativity to come up with new solutions and processes to achieve the results you want. I will give you an example that is very close to home for me. In 2010, I was then the Chief Agency Distribution Officer for Sun Life. At that time, we had a highly productive agency force, which was a source of great pride for us. But we realized that there was a problem. We were not growing. So in a manner of speaking, what we had was a beautiful but shrinking garden. It took humility for us to realize and accept this. It then took courage for us to challenge the norm and find out why we weren't growing. We were confronted with the brutal fact that very few wanted to be a field manager back then, because apparently it wasn't rewarding enough. So we did major changes. We overhauled the bonus package, and we started rewarding managers for recruiting productive advisors. We also invested in supporting their recruitment activities with aggressive marketing campaigns, complete with TV commercials. All these took creativity, as we had never done anything similar to this before. It was a totally new way of approaching recruitment. And guess what? It worked. The result of this change was amazing. We saw an influx of field managers who were ready and willing to recruit. From an agency force that had never grown beyond 2,500, we managed to triple that number in a few years. And this became a major factor in the aggressive growth we experienced in the many years that followed. All of that was because we dared to challenge the process. Had we maintained the status quo and rested on our laurels back then, we probably would have failed to see how much more we could become, and we might never have soared to greater heights as we did. So if you want bigger and better things for your team, you must constantly challenge the process. The third leadership practice is enabling others to act. Enabling others to act is probably one of the most basic requirements of a leader, because leadership is not a solo act. No matter how good you are, you cannot do it all alone. So your role as a leader is to enable your advisors to act. And there are two basic things needed to do this. First, you need to entrust and empower your team members with clear direction and accountability, so they know exactly what they need to do. Then you need to equip them with the knowledge, skills, and tools they need to succeed. This may sound like a fairly basic thing for leaders to do, but the importance of enabling people to act is highlighted by the changes we are experiencing today. While the role of advisors has not changed, the required enablers have certainly changed. With the pandemic and the disruption it has caused in terms of the way we do things, there is a need to retrain and enable our advisors in a whole new way. There is also a need for new tools and gadgets. Even tenured advisors and field managers like yourselves have to adapt and be reskilled and retooled to succeed in the new world. Let me give you a recent example of how a field manager of ours enabled her advisors amidst the pandemic. With everything shifting to digital and virtual platforms, Wi-Fi has become a key enabler for advisors to do their work. Unfortunately, not everyone has great Wi-Fi connection, especially those in the provinces. So what this field manager did was to convert a small and accessible space in her own home into a hub where her advisors can go and do their Zoom calls with their clients. This demonstrates that while enabling others sounds like a basic thing to do, it requires some out-of-the-box thinking too. The fourth leadership practice is encouraging the heart. This leadership practice is particularly important because achieving your team's shared vision will take time. Therefore, you have to sustain your team's enthusiasm and effort over this long period. Because as we all know, effort and enthusiasm can easily fizzle out and wane. So how do you ensure that your team remains engaged, enthusiastic, and energized throughout their journey towards accomplishing the team's goal? First, you need to give them a lot of positive reinforcement. This is where recognition of individual achievements and celebration of team milestones play a crucial part. And I think the reason for this is obvious. For one, it reaffirms people's belief in themselves and in their capabilities, which in turn gives them the confidence to keep on going. It also makes them feel appreciated and reinforces their belief that the work they do matters. And this helps keep them engaged and committed to the team's goals. But encouraging the heart is more than recognizing good performance. It also means cheering your team on when the going gets tough. As a leader, you should never be the one to throw in the towel. For those of you who are as old as me and are familiar with the cartoon Gulliver's Travel, you would remember this character named Glum, who would repeatedly say, amidst their many adventures, "We are doomed. We will never make it." As a leader, you cannot be a voice of doom like Glum. You cannot be too much of a realist. In fact, for me, one of the non-negotiable traits of a good leader is optimism. You must be a dealer of hope in order to keep your team focused and optimistic, despite setbacks and frustrations. Unfortunately, encouraging the heart is something that is often overlooked by leaders amidst the busy and fast-paced environment we have today. Yet, it is when things are most hectic and when everyone is busy and under pressure that people need encouragement the most. The pandemic and lockdown have not helped either. With most of the meetings now done online and interactions have become virtual and less intimate, many feel isolated, longing for some sense of community. This is exactly the perfect time for encouraging the heart and providing your people with that optimism and reassurance that they are not alone. But how do you encourage the heart in this environment? Well, there are 100 big and little things you can do. But again, it takes creativity. We have a unit manager who wanted to send fruit packages to her advisors. What a sweet gesture, right? But instead of just writing a note and having the fruit baskets delivered by Grab, hear this. She drove and made a surprise visit to the homes of each one of her advisors, handing them the fruit basket personally. and chatting a bit to find out how they were and how their families were coping, with safety protocols and social distancing, of course. Now imagine yourself as the advisor, and your manager did that. How would you feel? Encouraged, right? The fifth and final leadership practice is called modeling the way. This, to me, is the foundation that underpins the 4 previous leadership practices I discussed, and without which the other 4 practices are undermined. Now, why do I say this is the foundation of all leadership practices? Because as Kouzes and Posner said, if you don't believe the messenger, you won't believe the message. And as a leader, you are the messenger. And this is true, isn't it? Before you believe in a leader's words, vision, and actions, don't you first have to trust that person's character and values? So before you as a leader can do any of the 4 leadership practices effectively, your followers must first believe in you. Before they buy into your vision and follow you to the ends of the earth, they must first buy into you. They have to know what kind of person you are, your values, and what you stand for. Remember, if they don't believe the messenger, and that is you, they won't believe the message. This is why modeling the way is so important. It is all about credibility and earning your team's trust. It is about being a role model and being the gold standard for your advisors to emulate. Simple example. If you tell them that punctuality is important, you better show up on time for all your meetings. If you tell them you value integrity, you must make sure they see that in your own actions and that you don't tolerate questionable selling practices. You have to consistently demonstrate characteristics which earn your people's trust. And you have to be the kind of person that they look up to and admire. Now we go to the second letter of the phrase, lead me. Lesson number 2, E, for empathy. If I asked any of you, how big is the team you manage, I would probably get various answers. Some of you might say, oh, I have 20 advisors, or 50 advisors, or more than 100 advisors. What if I say, after hearing those answers, that all of those answers are wrong? What if I say, no, you do not have 20, 50, or over 100 advisors. What you have are 20, 50, or over 100 individuals who just happen to be advisors. Can you see the difference? Often we see our team members as being just that, advisors. Sometimes, especially when we are too busy or preoccupied, we fail to see them as unique individuals. But a true leader needs to know that every single member of her team is unique, and each one of them matters. Everybody matters, and is worth getting to know. This understanding and sensitivity to another person's circumstances and experiences is what we call empathy. If you ask me, empathy is the heart of every leader. It is what connects a leader to his team members in a meaningful way. And it is what leads to a deeper understanding among the members of the team. Without empathy, you are missing a big piece of the puzzle, because you will not understand the whys and hows of your team members' performance. You may be trying to motivate one of your advisors by offering him a reward that he doesn't even care about. You may be trying to resolve poor performance by providing someone with training when the root problem is a domestic issue. In other words, you need to know what each member's unique circumstances and abilities are in order to determine how you can help each of them succeed. Customizing your approach for an individual also tells that individual that he matters, that he deserves your time, and that you care for him and his success. Fortunately, the acceleration of digital and social media today has created the opportunity to do more customized and personalized interactions. Let me just give you an example. In a Zoom branch huddle, one of our branch managers instructed each member of her branch to create his or her own personal virtual background. Everyone was asked to choose any event, milestone, or any image at all that represents something of great personal value. I wish I could show you the virtual backgrounds that these advisors came up with, which ranged from photos of their families, wedding pictures, newborn babies, to treasured pets, their newly grown plants, etc. More than the creativity that was displayed, their virtual backgrounds became a medium for the members to express themselves in a personal way and an avenue for the team to get to know each other. More than that, it gave the branch manager a chance to know her people more and what matters to them. Needless to say, this made everyone feel valued and important. As you can see, empathy goes beyond caring for the work that your advisors do. Empathy is showing genuine interest in your people and caring for them in a more personal way. As Theodore Roosevelt said, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. I will end this lesson by sharing a greeting which is used by the Zulu people of Southern Africa. When they greet a person, they say, "Sawubona," which basically means, "I see you." More than words of kindness, Sawubona carries with it the importance of recognizing the worth and dignity of each person. So in a way, when someone greets you Sawubona, they are saying to you, you matter. Now, are you making each member of your team feel this every day? That they matter and that you care? Now we go to letter A, the third letter in the phrase, lead me. Lesson number 3, A, for authenticity. Authenticity is about being real and true to oneself. To me, this is the foundation of trust in any relationship. Because of this, authenticity is non-negotiable for a leader. It is as simple as that. As a leader, it is important to remain true to yourself and express your own brand of leadership. While it is natural for us to admire other leaders and to be inspired by them, it is another thing to copy these leaders and pretend to be someone or something we are not. For one, it will be very draining to pretend to be something you are not, and it will prove eventually to be ineffective. Recall how I told you that I am an introvert by nature, and how I questioned myself whether an introvert can be an effective leader. Well, I found the answer to that when I decided to be true to myself. Instead of trying to change who I am, I allowed the good things about being an introvert to help me in my leadership. I leveraged on my being a nerd, a philosophy graduate, and a former high school teacher, and let these show in the way I lead and manage, instead of trying to be a different person. How did I manifest these backgrounds? Those from Sun Life will know how I love writing letters to our advisors and how passionate I am about talking about our purpose and our big whys. Halatang philosophy graduate talaga. I draw from my own past experiences and reflections and share these when I speak. In fact, I have often been told that my speeches sound like homilies. But I believe that being true to myself has allowed me and the people I lead to form deeper relationships. My hope is for you to find your own brand of leadership based on your authentic self. But don't worry if you don't have one distinct leadership style yet. It takes time, self-awareness, experience, and confidence. Start by drawing from your own personality, passions, and experiences, and harness those that can help you become a more effective leader. Now we move to the fourth letter of Lead Me. Lesson number 4, D is for dichotomy. One of the things I've come to realize is that leadership requires being comfortable with dichotomy. What does that mean? Well, dichotomy refers to a contrast between two things that are exact opposites of each other. So a dichotomous leader is someone who is capable of flexing her leadership style to cater to the different people she leads and the different situations she is faced with. It may seem like a contradiction for me to say that leaders need to be dichotomous, just right after I said that leaders need to be authentic and true to themselves. So allow me to explain. Although a leader should have his own dominant leadership style based on his unique personality and strengths, I also believe that a leader must be ready to do something that is out of his or her comfort zone when the situation calls for it. You can be the motherly type of leader who is nurturing, mild-mannered, patient, the type who provides much leeway and allowances on most matters. But when the matter involves ethical and non-negotiable issues like insubordination or dishonesty, you need to be ready to be tough and draw the line too. Or you may be the type of leader who treats your team members as barkada and who jokes with your team a lot and always tries to decide by consensus. But there will also be times when your decisiveness will be challenged and you need to exercise your authority. I often hear people describing themselves in singular terms. I am a tough leader, or I am a gentle leader. And people normally think that you cannot be both, or that it is actually not wise to be both. But one recent example of a leader I admire who demonstrated that you can have seemingly dichotomous traits is the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern. She made a credible case that you can be both strong but kind as a leader. To quote her, she says that the whole model of leadership that says you've got to be tough, and tough means you can't be kind, is just wrong. She went on to win the recent re-elections in New Zealand with the mantra, be strong, be kind. I think her landslide victory shows that people do appreciate and do need this kind of dichotomous leadership. So if you are wondering whether to be a tough or gentle leader, firm or fair, gutsy or graceful, well, be what is most authentic to yourself, but be ready at the same time to shift from one style to another, if and when the situation calls for it. It may be a difficult act, but great leaders are those who can keep their authenticity and at the same time also demonstrate dichotomy when needed. So now we get to the next letter in Lead Me, which is M. Lesson number 5, M for malleability. You don't often hear the word malleability next to the word leadership. But from my 30 years of experience, I can say that malleability has been a crucial ingredient in my growth as a leader. What is malleability anyway? Literally speaking, it is the ability to be reshaped. For a leader, this means the ability to adapt, evolve, and change. But it is also important to highlight that you should not change just for the sake of changing. As a leader, you should change because you want to do better in your pursuit of your mission. If you think about it, the purpose for which insurance was introduced to Filipinos 125 years ago has not changed. From that time until today, the purpose of our profession and service has always been and continues to be to provide Filipinos and their families with financial security and a brighter future. This has never changed. But the environment and the people we serve have changed. Client needs and habits have changed. The question is, how do you continue fulfilling our purpose, which remains unchanged, in a way that is relevant and effective in today's changing world? The answer is by being malleable, which is not just a matter of tweaking things here and there, or just doing things better. Malleability comes down to doing these two things: reimagining and reinventing. First, it is about reimagining the possibilities and opportunities that the changes and disruption of this fast-changing world has brought. Then, it is about reinventing yourself in order to tap these new possibilities and opportunities. Let's consider the disruption that this pandemic has brought about to all of us. Despite all the changes that have taken place, your roles as managers and leaders have not changed. You still have the responsibility to engage, to motivate, and to rally your advisors to deliver on the team's goals. You still have to train, to incentivize, and to give recognition to them, right? The question is how to do these things in today's new world, where you cannot be physically together. This is where malleability and your ability to reimagine the opportunities and reinvent yourself will come in. Let me give you a simple example of this. One of our unit managers demonstrated this malleability during the lockdown. This particular unit manager created a master list of all of her advisors, complete with all the relevant info. Now you might say, well, that's nothing new. All companies have their own databases of their advisors, various information. But the one created by this unit manager is different. The database she created had personal information not usually found in corporate databases, like shirt sizes, preferred incentive rewards, favorite food, and the like. Then she also included each of their unique QR codes in her database. All these now serve as ready reference that allows her to send them instant rewards and incentives. So if she wants to send them cash rewards, she can do so instantly, as she already has their QR codes. If she wants to send them a team shirt, she already has their shirt sizes. If she wants to send them food, she already knows what their favorite food is, and it's just a click away with Grab. This field manager has not allowed the lockdown to be an excuse for doing her job as a manager in a substandard way. Instead, she reimagined how to do her job even better, given the challenges of the lockdown, by reimagining the possibilities within the digital context. As a result, she even managed to level up the way she gives her advisors their rewards now, allowing her to give them more instantaneous and personalized incentives. Remember, the basics of what a field manager does did not change. It is the how that had to change. Embracing the changes and adapting to them is what being malleable is all about. As leaders, you need to constantly reimagine possibilities and reinvent yourself. This malleability is key to you thriving and becoming an effective leader amidst the changing times. Finally, we get to the last letter of the phrase, lead me, and that is E. Lesson number 6, E is for excellence. For this last lesson, there are 3 brief points I wish to share. My first point on excellence revolves around a quote from Aristotle, who said, "Excellence is not an act, but a habit." Sa Tagalog, ang excellence ay hindi tsamba and is not a singular act. Excellence is something that needs to be intentionally and repeatedly done. This also means that excellence is not a trait that you are born with. And since this is the case, anyone can actually aspire for excellence. The bad news is, it takes hard work. One good place to start practicing and developing the habits of excellent leaders is by applying the 5 leadership practices I shared with you earlier. Those 5 practices have been determined to be the behaviors and practices of leaders whom people have called exemplary. I hope you take time to review those 5 practices and apply them in your teams. My second point on excellence also comes from Aristotle, who said, "We do not act rightly because we have virtue or excellence, but rather we have virtue or excellence because we have acted rightly." Many people think that excellence is all about the output. When people say excellent job to someone, they are normally referring to the output, the accomplishment, or a certain level of performance vis-a-vis a certain target. While that defines excellence, if you ask me, it is not just that. Excellence is also about doing the right thing, and doing the right thing constantly. As a leader, you must remember to always do what is right, even if it is hard, inconvenient, or painful. Anybody can do what is easy, but it takes an excellent leader to do what is right. When going after your goals, do not compromise on your integrity. Excellence comes from constantly doing what is right. My third point on excellence is this: excellence is not measured by your own success. It is measured by the success of the people you lead. Leadership, after all, is not about the leader. It is about the followers. Therefore, a manager can only consider herself successful if and when the people she manages are themselves successful. Consider an orchestra and the conductor. When you listen to an orchestra playing beautiful music, do you hear the conductor making a sound? You don't, right? This, for me, captures how a manager should be. Facing his orchestra with his back turned against the audience, he directs and guides each member of the orchestra and orchestrates everyone's efforts to produce beautiful music for everyone to hear. The conductor doesn't play any instrument, and you only see his back while the orchestra is playing. But the music is played excellently. As a leader, you are a conductor. And just like a conductor, your excellence is best seen through the excellence of the people you lead. As Lao Tzu said, a leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say, "We did it ourselves." Let me end my message to all of you with a challenge, which I hope will help you put some of the lessons I shared into practice. Here is my challenge. In the next 7 days, I want you to set a 60 to 90-minute Zoom team meeting. I want you to make this team meeting a special one by doing the following. First, do everything you can to get 100% of your advisors to attend. Appeal to them, beg them, bribe them. Basta, make sure they all attend. Second, require all your advisors to come to the meeting with their own virtual background, which shows his or her answer to this question. What has been the most important event that has happened to you during this pandemic? Now make sure to model the way and also come up with your own virtual background for this meeting. Third, as soon as the meeting starts, make sure the first item in your agenda is to thank everyone for being part of your team. For this part, be as creative as you can in making them truly feel how much you appreciate them. After that, have each one take turns explaining their virtual background, starting with you as their field manager. This part will probably take time, but don't worry. For this particular meeting, this is the main agenda. This is where you can get to know each other deeper and affirm how much each of the members of your team matter to you. Finally, end your meeting by agreeing on a short-term business goal for the team, one that excites all of you and which you all agree to pursue and deliver by the end of 3 to 6 months. This will be the team's shared short-term vision that you as the leader will inspire, enable, and encourage your team of advisors to accomplish. Follow up on this goal and make sure you apply the leadership lessons throughout their 3-month and 6-month journey. This challenge I've suggested to you may sound simple, but I hope it will create that much needed boost of energy in your team and convey the appreciation you have for them, as well as your belief in your team's capability to go after your team's shared vision. Let this be the special meeting to kick off your team's renewed confidence and enthusiasm, knowing that they are part of a community where they matter, where their contributions are valued, and where they are led by a leader who cares for them and will lead each of them to greater heights. Dear leaders of the life insurance industry, always remember that leadership is not about us. Leadership is about the people we lead. And it is our job as leaders to draw out the greatness that is already in each person in our team. As Ken Blanchard said, people want to be magnificent. It is the job of the leader to bring out the magnificence in people and create an environment where they feel safe, supported, and ready to do the best job possible in accomplishing key goals. Yes, leadership is indeed a big responsibility. But I hope you also realize what a great privilege it is. Beyond the stature, your leadership position allows each one of you the opportunity to live a life of significance by making a profound and positive influence in the lives of your advisors. Imagine that. Lives made better because of you. Wouldn't that be great? Allow me to end my talk with a story. Some of you may have seen the movie called Mr. Holland's Opus. The story is about Mr. Glenn Holland, a passionate musician whose only lifelong aspiration was to write a great symphony that would make him rich and famous. But he had a pregnant wife, and thus a growing family that he needed to feed. To do that, he took on a job as a high school music teacher. But it was obvious that his heart was not into it. His job was simply a means for him to put food on the table. But somewhere along the way, Mr. Holland ended up falling in love with being a high school teacher and ended up doing it for 30 long years. On the day of his retirement, there was a surprise get-together for him, attended by his former students. Among them was the governor of the state, who gave a speech in tribute of Mr. Holland. Allow me to quote what she said. Mr. Holland had a profound influence on my life, and on a lot of lives I know. But I have a feeling that he considers a great part of his own life misspent. Rumor had it he was always working on this symphony of his, and this was going to make him famous and rich. But Mr. Holland isn't rich, and he isn't famous, at least not outside of our little town. So it might be easy for him to think of himself as a failure. But he would be wrong, because I think he has achieved success far beyond riches and fame. Look around you. She then says to Mr. Holland, there is not a life in this room that you have not touched. And each of us is a better person because of you. We are your symphony, Mr. Holland. We are the melodies and the notes of your opus. We are the music of your life. End of quote. This is what I have always dreamed of in my own leadership journey. To live a life of significance by helping the people I lead find their own excellence. And it is the same wish I have for you. As leaders, may this be your ultimate achievement, to touch the lives of the people you lead, to make their lives brighter, and to find your excellence and fulfillment in the success of every single person you have led. Let us never forget, dear field managers, that leadership is a privilege and that we must do everything we can each day to earn that privilege. Let's challenge ourselves with this question often. If they took away my title, would my advisors still want to be led by me? My wish for all of you is that you hear a resounding yes to that question. And I hope that the lessons I have shared with you will be helpful in making you that kind of leader that your advisors will say yes to over and over again. May you be like Mr. Holland, one who inspires people, one who makes them feel that they matter, and one who helps them achieve their best potential. When this happens, you can be sure each member of your team will be saying these words to you: lead me. It was a pleasure to speak with you today. Good morning, and I hope you enjoy
Thank you, Mr.
the rest of the
Narciso.
convention.
On behalf of Gamma International Philippines, we hereby present Sun Life President, Mr. Alexander Narciso, a token of appreciation for delivering the keynote message in this year's convention.